Hello! Today we will be talking about the Industrial Revolution. The Industrial Revolution started in Britain. But why Britain? That we will discuss later. The Industrial Revolution was a period where there were many inventions that completely changed the way people lived their life. However, just before the Industrial Revolution came the Agricultural Revolution. The Agricultural Revolution began when landowners experimented with farming methods. Jethro Tull invented a seed drill. This allowed farmers to sow seeds in well-spaced rows to yield a larger crop. Crop rotation allowed the soil to restore nutrients. Each crop used a different nutrient, so the interval between these crops allowed soil to regain nutrients. With everyone expanding their farms, more farmers were out of work, so they moved into the city in hopes of finding jobs in factories. We mentioned before that the Industrial Revolution began in Britain. But why in Britain? The answer is that Britain had extensive natural resources necessary for the Industrial Revolution. Britain had water sources and coal to fuel the machines. Also, it had iron ore to construct machines, rivers for inland transportations, and harbors to export goods.
Out of the Industrial Revolution came several inventions that completely changed the way people lived their lives. The first few changed the textile industry. The flying shuttle, invented by John Kay, came first. It was a boat-shaped piece of wood with yarn attached, and it doubled the work one weaver could do in a day. Then James Hargreaves invented the spinning jenny, which greatly increased production. Richard Arkwright, Samuel Crompton, and Edmund Cartwright all created improved versions of these inventions, greatly increasing production of cloth from textile factories. However, their import of American cotton couldn't keep up with their rapid production until Eli Whitney created the cotton gin. The cotton gin rapidly removed cotton seeds from the cotton plants, exponentially increasing the amount of cotton cleaned in one day. Next were improvements in transportation. James Watt created the first steam engine, which worked more efficiently and burned less fuel than traditional engines. This new engine was incorporated into Robert Fulton's steamboat Clermont and Richard Trevithick's locomotive. The more important was the latter, the locomotive. British engineers created multiple variations of this machine. George Stephenson was the most famous of the British engineers, and his locomotives were used commonly in mines and newly opened railroads.
Obviously, with the arrival of these inventions came more factories to create more goods. Short on laborers, factory owners hired women and children to work in their factories. They worked Monday through Saturday, and their workdays began around 5 a.m. and ended as late as 11 p.m. With all new people moving into the city's populations started to grow rapidly. However, there was no sanitation codes nor adequate housing for all these people. Garbage collected on the city streets, and workers often lived in dirty shelters. Sickness and disease was widespread in Britain. So with the efficiency that came with the factories also came at the cost of the health of many people. Of course, with their lives changing before their eyes, the people had to adjust. The working hours were similar to when they worked on the farm, but the work was different. Many had to quickly learn how to use the machines. They had to operate with much caution, for there were no safety precautions whatsoever in the factory. If you were in the working class, you were put straight into work as a child until most likely your death. Some of the working class was replaced by new machines, which caused an uproar, causing those to riot and destroy machines. There were also riots by some of the working class who still had jobs, but they rioted for a different cause. The revolts occurred due to hatred towards bad working and living conditions. The workers all overworked and were underpaid. Over time, however, they won higher wages, shorter hours, and better conditions. Overall, even though pollution started to overrun cities, the morale of many people were raised due to the new era of more production and a better economy. During the revolution, some people believed that the government should leave establishments alone, and some believed that the government should take action in the businesses so they can improve people's lives. In the 1700s, an English philosopher named Jeremy Bentham introduced the philosophy of utilitarianism, which generally was that the individual should be free to do whatever they want without interference from the state. Charles Fourier, a French reformer, liked socialism, which was the factors of production are owned and operated by everyone for everyone. There is also communism, which is a form of complete socialism. Many workers joined unions for better working conditions and not having the threat of losing their jobs. Unions negotiated with employers for better wages, and if employers refused, then the workers would go on strike. This means that they would refuse to work for a certain period of time, making the factory lose money. Many new laws passed for safer working conditions. The first was the Factory Act of 1833. Children ages 9 through 12 could only work up to 8 hours a day, and children ages 13 through 17